another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Pinkfresh Studios. They recently did a release with some BetterPress plates. And so I am using a couple of those today. I'm using Beautiful Roses, Camellias, and the favorite, I think it's Favorite Sentiments, something like that. That one is out of stock in their shop, but it is in stock at other places like Cherry on Top, Scrapbook Pal, Simon Says Stamp. You get what I'm saying. It'll be linked below if you're interested in them. And so, as with any tool, when you first kind of get it, you want to play around with it and see what you can or can't do with it. And I really wanted to see, I knew that Copic coloring with the BetterPress ink wasn't really something that they recommended because it is solvent based and so it can react with the alcohol markers. But they do encourage watercolor. And so I thought I would try some ink smooshing to see what kind of results I could get. Now, I am using Tim Holtz Distress Watercolor paper. This is not my go-to paper, so this was also a learning curve for me. And I found that I needed much more water than I had originally anticipated. So I smooshed all of my colors out, obviously a rainbow of colors, you know me, love a good rainbow. And then I sprayed it down with my water bottle and then I kind of dipped my paper in. This paper, this particular side of the paper is much more textured than the usual watercolor paper that I work with. And so you can see a lot of that texture, which is a really cool look if that's what you're going for. I wanted something that was going to be a little bit more fluid. And so I just kept adding more water and dipping them back in. Since I am using a rainbow of colors, I am trying to make sure that I dip them back into relatively the same area so that it doesn't get super muddy. And so this one I was pretty happy with. That one I decided, okay, I'm just going to clean it up and then I'm going to do it again. So I've laid them out in pretty much the same way. You can see I dropped my yellow ink pad into where my blue went, but it's fine. It's all fine. And then I'm going to go back in and do this one a second time. Again, I am trying to get it pretty close to what I had previously dipped it in. I liked the orange and the pink combination kind of in the top corner. I did pick up a little bit of purple there, which does not mix well with the orange. So I just wiped that off with a rag. And then I tried just spraying the paper and spraying my ink smooshing. And that got very green. So I blotted that up. And then went back into the pink, into that kind of orange area and the purple down at the bottom. The wonderful thing about ink smooshing is you can pretty much do it until you're happy with it, which is what I did. So here at this point, I'm okay with them, but I wish the color was a little bit bolder. In order to get a little bit bolder color, I'm going to take my ink pad directly to the paper. Not for all of the colors, but just for the colors that I want to be more dominant. And so I like the green, obviously on the right-hand side is pretty dominant already. I'm not adding any more green. I did add some more blue and some more peacock feathers. I also added some more pink and a little bit of yellow. I did not add any more purple or, what did I use for orange? Spice Marmalade. And then I sprayed them down with water. I went in with a paintbrush. I didn't paint them. I just did a little bit to kind of move the water around. And then I got some just clean water. Here I'm just soaking up the excess water so that they'll dry faster instead of sitting in a puddle of, water. But then I just got some clean water, and this is just to help break up the color just a little bit. Doing the ink pad direct to paper did allow me to keep some of that texture from the paper, and then this will create even more. Flicking on some clean water just kind of helps move the pigment a little bit, gives you some pockets of maybe some bleached areas, and then I let them dry for a little while. If your paper, it appears to be dry, but is still cool to the touch, it's still wet. And so before I did any of my pressing, I wanted to make sure everything was dry. So here, this is the Camellias. You can see, you know, on an A2 size card, this is a really, really good size. I have already put some low tack tape in the four corners of the, what do they call that? Like the clear platen. And then I'm also going to go in and tape it down. I was a little bit apprehensive about doing this because it is watercolor paper and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to, you know, rip the paper at all, but also I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be getting the tape in areas that I wanted to press. So I started off putting them on the left and right hand sides, and then I ultimately decided to move them to the top and bottom since I wouldn't be pressing anywhere near there. For the actual inking, I'm just using the black BetterPress ink. I do have some other colors, but I really like black with bright colors, and so I chose to do that. In order to ink it up, I did the tap and pivot that Spellbinders recommends. And so this went, you know, pretty quickly, no different really than inking up a stamp. And then once I was happy with the coverage that I was getting on my plate, I went ahead and flipped the platen over. If you have watched any previous videos of mine or any other videos on this, you know those little corners are magnets. So as soon as you put it up over top of it, they snap into place. There's no pressure put on the paper until you run it through your Spellbinders Platinum 6. And I had no issues. It was, you know, one pass through, perfect impression, just like the results that I've had previously. Now, here, I wanted to get some of that pink, and I didn't get any of it because I wasn't thinking about the fact that it would be the reverse. So here you're going to watch me check it like 6 times because this is still new to me too. So here I'm checking it. Okay, that's going to be where I want it to go. Is that going to be where I want it to go? Is it? Is it not? Is it? So finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and commit to taping it down. And I know that I'm going to get the side that has the really pretty, like teals, blues, and purples. That's the side that I wanted. I didn't want all my roses to be just green. So I'm going to, you know, do the same thing, the tap and pivot to ink it up with that black ink. And this really is, I mean, it's really pretty foolproof. I didn't have any issues, even though I'm not using the cotton paper. I am using distressed watercolor paper. I still got probably not as deep of an impression, but still an impression nonetheless. And really, really beautiful detail, which is what is amazing about these press plates. You can get so much detail in them. So there's those roses, and I think both of these, I'm pretty sure both of these images were drawn by my friend Emily Midget, who is endlessly talented. And so I always love using her products. I always find myself being drawn to her illustrations. I am going to cut these out with their coordinating dies. I am being very careful to make sure that I just put the tape on the edge and that I'm not putting it over the image just in case I have any tearing. I've had really good luck with the pixie tape and not had any problems. So here they're cut out. You can see on the white background, they're kind of lackluster. I mean, they're pretty. It's a nice watercolor, but is it a wow? It's not a wow. But look at it on black. Like when I talk about like that I love the contrast and the drama that contrast brings, with bright colors, they're just showstoppers to me. I love them. And this is one of my favorite techniques. And so did I want to make sure that I was going to be able to do that with a BetterPress system? Yes, I did. So here we talked about earlier that they don't recommend that you use Copics because it will smear your ink. That is true. However, I'm only going around and coloring the edge of the die or any of the dead space in between the florals. And so I'm not going over the black lines. I'm just going right up against it. Once you're done coloring it, you do, because watercolor paper is thicker, you do want to make sure that you're going in and you're getting the edge of the paper as well so that you don't see that up against your black cardstock. I typically do mine with the pretty part of the image facing away from me just in case my pen slips. So these are the diamonds and I believe the hexagons that are also from Pinkfresh Studios, this one, you see this bottom right corner piece, I cut that out of the leftover piece. I just did the same thing. I pressed it and then cut it out. And it's not a full piece, but it is enough to give me a full corner to kind of balance out my design. So once I decided what size I am going to be using, I'm going to cut these, both the diamonds and this, out of black glitter cardstock. Because glitter is beautiful, but also because it's going to give me an alternative texture so that it's not just kind of this black on black. The glitter does still create some contrast while being subtle enough to not take away from the focal point. What I find best to do when I'm taping these is to tape the outside one first as a full piece and then go in and tape the inside. When I tape the inside one, typically I will use a larger piece to connect the two to just make sure that nothing is going anywhere while I'm running it through to get my frame. So now those are done. I'm laying them out to see, how I like where we're going. And it's just feeling a little blah. So I pulled out this cover plate, also from Pinkfresh, and I'm just going to add some texture into the background of the black. I didn't do it on both cards. I only did it on one. But it is enough, even though it's very subtle texture, it is enough to make the card more interesting. And so you would think that I would use this on the one that has less going on, but I actually liked it better on the one that had the camellias, or camellias. Which way do you say that? But you tell me. And then for the other one with the diamond and the kind of rose spray, I decided to trim it down and then mount it on, I believe I used Arctic cardstock from Hero Arts, which is a pale, like bluish teal color. For the sentiments, normally I would white heat emboss on black, but obviously I have press sentiments. So I decided I was going to try, that's why I'm using a scrap piece of paper. Well, I mean, I always use up my scraps anyway because I'm cheap. But I was like, I'm just going to try it on a scrap piece and see how it goes. I decided I was going to ink it up with white StazOn pigment ink. Now, I chose this because it is a little bit firmer of a pad versus a regular pigment ink. And so I just inked them up, using the kind of pounce and pivot. It's so much so that I moved my sentiment. I think I actually moved it like 2 or 3 times. But then I had to slide it back into place to make sure it was going to fit on my scrap piece of paper. Once I had good coverage, then I went ahead and flipped the platen over. And then this is just regular cardstock, by the way. It's not watercolor cardstock. And it worked beautifully. I got a great impression. It is a little bit softer. It's not as in your face as white heat embossing would be, but definitely legible, very apparent that it's white. Once it dried, which surprisingly was very quick, I was very much prepared for it to take a long time because StazOn typically does, but it must be because we're using just such a little amount to sit on the surface. It did dry very fast. And then again, I am just being careful not to tape over my sentiment. So now all that's left to do is, I forgot about this. So in order to make this background a little bit more interesting, and I know not everybody's into splatters, or spatters, however you want to say it, whatever floats your boat. I do like them, and I do find that they add a lot of interest. So I chose to do it on both backgrounds, the one that has the cover plate on it and the blank one, with just some white Copic ink, opaque Copic ink. And I just thought that this added just some kind of fun feel to it. Since we have such bright colors, this watercolor blend, it already has a very kind of vibrant, out of control kind of feel. And to me, those spatters play right into that. So for this card, I'm just adhering everything down flat, the glitter frame, and then I am going to let both sides of my florals hang off, and then I will trim them down before I put them on my card base. I just felt like this would give a different look than the other one, which has the diamond and the roses that are completely contained within the card. So just kind of you know, it's like a 2-for-1 video. Like, it's the same technique, but just shown kind of 2 different ways how you can bring things together at the end of it. So how did we end up doing this card? So I actually made this card a while ago for their release blog hop, and I had saved the footage with the intention of doing it. And then you know how it goes. Things just keep rolling. And so I never did the video. And today I had planned on putting up a video. I actually voiced it over everything, uploaded it to YouTube, the whole deal. And I was going to link the product and I could not find the product to link. And I realized that I was actually like a month and a half early. It came in the product that I had used came in a package with other products that were being released. And so I thought they were part of the same one. And so I went ahead and used them, and turns out no, indeed. So yeah, that video will be seen in the future. But so that gave me a good reason to go ahead and go back to this one, which I had not previously shown you, to just kind of, you know, revisit the BetterPress system. I do have more plans for being able to use them in the future, other things that I want to try and play around with. But it's, you know, trying to fit in all of the things, especially with the like new camera and the lighting situation and all of the things. Sometimes it just gets really challenging. So I'm doing the best I can to get them all in there. One thing that I wanted to note, we had talked previously about like some things that were new in the new year. A lot of people ask me about my nails, like what color my nail polish is, or, you know, what's on them, or tell me that they look really pretty, what have you. And so I do plan on hopefully starting to link to it in the video, but also considering doing maybe a video or some reels with that. Please let me know what you think. I'm the reason I guess I'm leaning more towards like YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels is because it's not a full video. I don't know that you would want to watch a full video of me doing my nails, but if you do, let me know, because I'm not opposed to giving it a try. It's been years since I tried, and I tried to do it, I think, on a live, and it just did not work out well. For the little gems I'm adding, they're actually pearls. I think they're black baubles from Trinity Stamps, which I totally adore, all of their little embellishments. And then that's it. That's both cards. So I really love, the shimmer, I forgot. And do be careful when you're putting the shimmer on, because it's watercolor, you can reactivate it. I didn't notice any issues though. But then this was the last step. See, I jumped ahead, and I thought that was the baubles were the last, but the baubles are not the last. The glitter is. And now here they are. So I hope that this inspires you to try some different things. And you can do this with regular stamping. By the way, I have videos on that in case you're not a press plate person. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.